welcome to Doctor Who DVD Reviews with Doctor Who the Fourth Doctor. And for all you new series fans out there, I'm just here to give a quick review on the classic series and their Doctors. There's 8 Doctors in total from the classic series. I'm just going to give a quick review of each of the Doctors, and then I'll give you my favourite DVDs and an honourable mention of a DVD that I thought was another great episode from that Doctor. Alright, the first Doctor, played by William Hartnell from 1963 to 1966, was a grandfather figure and very crotchety and cranky. But his era had some classic stories like The Web Planet and The War Machines are two of my favourites that I have. I have not watched the first ever episode of Doctor Who. I'm quite disappointed with myself, but I'm getting that one soon on DVD definitely, and I'll probably most definitely put a review on that soon. Just because I want to watch the first ever episode and the first ever Dalek episode ever. Now, Patrick Troughton played the second Doctor, from 1966 to 1969, and unfortunately most of his episodes have been wiped by the BBC. And most of them, these ones here are from the 6th season of Doctor Who, these 4, and he does have one from the 5th season of Doctor Who, which is his 2nd season in the role, but they're redoing a special edition of that in Revisitations 3 near the end of this year, so I'll be getting that. But I have watched, that's Tomb of the Cybermen. I have watched that on my computer, and hopefully the new special edition will be well worth the wait. So Patrick Troughton was very much a cosmic hobo and very impish in stature, very short, but he always had a bit of fun in the TARDIS, even if he was fighting the Time Lords in the end there, in the War Games. But his era fraught with lost episodes and missing clips, and unfortunately so we don't get much of Patrick Troughton at all. Then we move on to the first ever Doctor I watched, Mr. Jon Pertwee. And the first ever story I remember watching, Planet of the Spiders. Jon Pertwee was very much like James Bond, I'd classify him as. Had impeccable fashion sense, you could call it, and he was very action oriented within his stories, and gadget oriented, I should add. So he's had many different gadgets throughout his tenure as the Doctor from 1970 to 74, 5 years as the Doctor, and he had some episodes that many of the fans regard as classic, near the top of the episode count. Alright, so then we move on to the most popular Doctor, Mr. Tom Baker. Now his era is divided, I divide into 3 distinct subsections. We've got the Philip Hinchcliffe era from Sontaran Experiment to Talons of Weng-Chiang there, and there's much more stories in between that, but those are the only ones I have. And this era, Hinchcliffe era of Doctor Who, was very horror orientated, and many of the stories such as Genesis, Brain of Morbius, Seeds of Doom, Deadly Assassin Talons, pretty much most of these episodes here except Revenge, I don't think really scared anyone. Revenge of the Cybermen. Lots of horror and horror elements like Brain of Morbius is Frankenstein. Planet of Evil, as I've discussed in previous review, is Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Seeds of Doom is plants trying to kill us. Shit scary. And a decapitated master in The Deadly Assassin. The only story, that's an honourable mention too, the only story in the classic series where the Doctor does not travel with a companion. It's an honourable mention there for that. And so then after Talons we move into the Graham Williams era as producer. From The Invisible Enemy to The Horns of Nylon. And after the horror-oriented Philip Hinchcliffe era, they were asked to move more into comedic areas. So most of these stories, especially these last 2, Creature in the Pit and Horns of Nylon from season 17, very comedic. Very, if you like comedy in Doctor Who, I do, but they were sort of borderline over the top, really. But that's definitely the Williams era of Doctor Who. And then for the Tom Baker's last season, from Leisure Hive to Logopolis, it's a very science fiction I wouldn't say so, science fact oriented. I've just recently watched all of these on, where are they? All of these again, and oh, actually no, I've just got these ones, they're new. And I quite enjoyed this last season. There's a theme of decay and change and entropy, and I rather enjoyed it. But Tom Baker's character overall, throughout the 3 different eras or subsections of his reign or tenure as the Doctor, he's definitely very much a bohemian and just travelling throughout time and space as just really having fun. He's just having a bit of fun really after his imprisonment on Earth during the 3rd Doctor's time. Just getting out there, having a bit of fun, travelling the universe like he used to in the old days. And then we move on to Peter Davison, who is very much sort of a background Doctor, I found. He doesn't really get into the fray, very much background. Oh, and Peter Davison played the Doctor from 1981 to 1984, although most of the DVDs, as noticed by this Castrovalva one, says 1982 to 1984. That's going off broadcast dates, as his first episode was broadcast the 4th of January 1982. But we don't usually, I don't refer to him as that, since he did appear at the end of Logopolis in 1981, so I usually refer to it as 1981 to 84. And so yeah, Peter Davison was very much like a background, sort of a secondary character. His companions most of the time really took the stage, especially in episodes like Kinder, with Tegan taking the stage, Black Orchid with Nyssa, Earthshock with Adric. What else do we have? Snake Dance, where is it? Snake Dance with Tegan again. Mordred Undead introduces a new male companion with Turlo, there he is on the cover, and Terminus Nyssa leaves. So all that is just very much like he sort of takes a back step to the whole proceedings, but he's definitely there, and when needed he'll step into the fray and definitely solve the problem. Right, now we move on to Colin Baker. Now this Doctor was just brash, plain out brash, abrasive. Perry, he tried to strangle Perry in the first episode he ever starred in, so not a good start for many of the fans. But over the course of his tenure, although it's only short, 1984 to 86, he grew and changed very much. Like you can see within the first season, from Attack of the Cybermen to Revelation of the Daleks. We get a much more abrasive relationship between him and Perry, and when we come back in Trial after the 18-month hiatus, they're definitely more equals, which I liked. But overall, Colin Baker's Doctor, although he's come in for a bit of strife and been virtually nearly ending Doctor Who, I found him, he's probably definitely one of my favourite Doctors. I move on to Sylvester McCoy, who most fans still to this day attribute for killing Doctor Who virtually in 1989, and he played the Doctor from 87 to 89, 3 years. And his first season was pretty much shit, pretty much, I'm going to say that. The only story I really liked, which I have watched, is Paradise Towers, and that's coming out later this year, so I'll definitely be watching that again. I really enjoyed it. Time in the Rani, I almost couldn't find myself sitting through. Doctor and Bannerman, I didn't mind with the 50s music. Paradise Towers I really enjoyed, because I like all that menacing for the corridors, although some of it's rather dodge. And Dragonfly was just, I don't know what's going on there, but it doesn't matter. So his first season, he was very much a clown, Sylvester McCoy, and then into Remembrance of the Daleks and To the End, Survival being the last ever broadcast story of Doctor Who. He very much grew and changed into the role, becoming much more darker and manipulative in the role, and that was really for the better. And I thought, if you just watch season 24, which is Time in the Rani, Delta Bannerman, there I've only got 2, you would say that they effectively cancelled Doctor Who, for a good reason anyway, because it wasn't good, but then you get into season 25, season 26, and it gets really good. It gets fantastic good. Like Battlefield, Curse of Fenric, Ghostlight, Survival, they're all fantastic stories. Battlefield maybe I've got a few faults with. Ghostlight is just a bit complicated. Curse of Fenric and Survival I just love, they're great stories. So it seems a bit sad that they had to cancel Doctor Who just when it was coming back into its stride. And then we move on to 1986 and we get Paul McGann's Doctor for one night only, and he stars in the TV movie. Now his Doctor was really much a romantic, and for the first time ever on screen he kissed a companion, this Doctor, Paul McGann, the 8th Doctor, and that was really much his character. He was sort of very vulnerable in this movie because it was only his regeneration story. So yeah, he was very vulnerable and romantic, and in the end I find the movie enjoyable just for the fact I can see Paul McGann on screen as the Doctor. So that's my general overview of each of these 8 classic series Doctors, and when we return I will be coming back with a review of my favourite episodes that I have on DVD of each of these Doctors that many Doctor Who fans of the new and old series should watch. Thank you for watching Doctor Who DVD reviews.